Hello, my hormone deficient dames. Can you believe I just addressed you as a hormone deficient dame? I am so inappropriate at times. This is one of the hazards of having me as a friend. You never know what I'll say. But I guess if I'm bold enough to call myself Menopause Taylor, I think it's fine to call you a hormone deficient dame. In any case, I'm so glad you're here at Menopause University learning everything you deserve to know in order to manage your menopause your way. We are in the midst of a big unit that addresses all three of the diseases of estrogen deficiency together. And I've already given you tutorials on the similarities and differences between the three, and on estrogen replacement for preventing the three. And you know that I'm an unbiased educator who presents all your options in every category for managing your menopause your way. So today we're going to start addressing all the non-hormonal management options. This is why I called you a hormone deficient dame. This video will present the overview for all options other than estrogen replacement for preventing heart attack, osteoporosis, and Alzheimer's. And I'll cover diet, lifestyle, exercise, vitamins, minerals, and supplements, herbs, and non-hormonal medications in general. And then I'll give you a separate video on each one that will be much more specific. And you know that you should absolutely watch all my videos in order, starting with the very first one, because there is just no other way to get the education you deserve, at least not if you prefer to get it from these YouTube videos. If you want a more efficient delivery of the whole education a whole lot faster than you can get in these videos, then do one of the following. Get my book and read the whole thing chronologically, or you can get the whole education in 12 hours by buying this set of 2 DVDs or the 15 webinars. As long as you learn everything in chronological order, you'll succeed in your menopause management. The worst thing you can do is to jump around all willy-nilly in random order and expect to end up with an adequate fund of knowledge for managing your menopause. That will constitute self-sabotage. Now, in my book, whether you have the first edition or the second edition, this material is in each separate chapter. So you'll benefit greatly by watching this video for this combined perspective that I'm going to give to you today. So what I'll do is make some broad comparisons between all the categories of options other than HRT that you can use to reduce your risks of the three big diseases of estrogen deficiency. This is similar to what I did for estrogen replacement in videos 281 through 285. Going back to one of the most basic principles of menopause is the simple fact that the only reason humans even have menopause is because we are living so long that we quite literally outlive our ovaries. And since our ovaries produce the essential female hormone estrogen, we are living the second half of our lives in a hormone deficient state. And as with any other hormone deficiency state, there are symptoms and diseases that occur as a result. So estrogen replacement for estrogen deficiency makes total sense, just as hormone replacement does for insulin deficiency or thyroid hormone deficiency. It constitutes compensation for your body's inability to supply itself with the hormone of concern. But not all women can or want to take estrogen replacement. So the next 7 videos will address all the other things you can do to compensate for the benefits that estrogen provided before it disappeared. Now, back in video number 234, I showed you this tree. And I called it the tree of menopause. The tree signifies menopause because it demonstrates the logic behind the difference between using estrogen replacement itself versus using non-hormonal options that we're discussing today. In this tree of menopause, the tree trunk down here is empty. It's supposed to contain estrogen, but because you've outlived your ovaries, it's empty. And all these branches of the tree represent all the diseases and symptoms that occur as a consequence of the empty tree trunk. The three big branches, 1, 2, 3, represent the three big diseases: heart attack, osteoporosis, and Alzheimer's. And each of the small branches represents one of the symptoms of estrogen deficiency, which include anxiety, hot flashes, night sweats, heart palpitations, insomnia, fatigue, forgetfulness, mood swings, irritability, depression, joint pain and stiffness, dry skin, hair loss, vaginal dryness, urinary tract infections, urinary incontinence, weight gain, and decreased sex drive. So, videos 288 to 298 have addressed everything you need to know about using estrogen replacement to compensate for estrogen deficiency. They focused on refilling the estrogen in the tree trunk. This video begins our discussion of all the non-estrogen options you can use to compensate for estrogen deficiency. It focuses on taking care of each of the three big branches of the tree, these three big branches of the tree without estrogen. Before you can even begin to successfully manage estrogen deficiency with anything other than estrogen replacement, you absolutely must understand the ranges of capabilities and limitations of each option category. In other words, you must know what each option can and cannot do. And you must adjust your expectations accordingly. The biggest pitfall for most women is using an option for something that it cannot possibly accomplish. In video number 293 on the limitations of estrogen replacement for preventing diseases of estrogen deficiency, I produced this depiction of three lanes: prevention, intervention, and fixin. And you learned that estrogen is limited in its capabilities. It functions in prevention of the three big diseases, and it can function as early intervention, but it is not capable of fixin. So if I add a little chart with rows for heart attack, represented by the letter H, osteoporosis, represented by the letter O, and Alzheimer's, represented by the letter A, you can see where estrogen fits on this scale in terms of its range of capabilities. So despite the fact that the root problem of menopause is estrogen deficiency, you can see that even estrogen replacement has limitations in terms of what it can accomplish for managing these diseases. I like to think of the whole range of options for managing your menopause as a great big smorgasbord. And when you start putting each option into these lanes of prevention, intervention, and fixin, you discover that it's like a great big multi-lane highway. But the big key to successful menopause management is to realize that all lanes do not lead to the same destination or outcome. Each lane can only get you so far in meeting your goals. So you may have to use more than one lane to end up where you want to be in the long term. Some lanes are dead ends, like this one. Right here. Dead end. If you try to manage your entire menopause using a lane of options that dead ends, you are going to dead end. Some lanes veer off course, like this one. And off the road you go. This is what happens when you try to use an option to accomplish something other than its intended purpose. Sometimes you have to switch lanes if your situation requires an option from a different lane. So you have to be aware of where each lane will head. Every option lane is good for some things and not for others. So please take advantage of the entire multi-lane highway. Do not confine yourself to just one lane and end up falling short of your destination. So I'll use the same depiction to place all the other management categories into these prevention, intervention, and fixin lanes so that you see how each one can serve you. Starting with diet. We all know that diet is the most essential factor of all for your health. No matter how much you want to believe that food is not important, that will never be true. That quote, "you are what you eat," while not correct in the literal sense, is absolutely true in the figurative sense. For preventing heart attack, nothing, absolutely nothing, is more important than your diet. You can completely control your risk for a heart attack with your diet. You can use it for prevention, intervention, and fixin. Back in the unit on heart attack, I gave you 3 separate videos on diet. They were videos 169, 170, and 171. With diet, you can accomplish prevention or intervention or fixin, which is a U-turn where you reverse everything. So no matter what you want to accomplish for purposes of your heart health, diet can do it. It may not be as effective or as fast as some other options, but it can get you there. It can get you all the way down the road to where you want to go. But in video number 216 on dietary options for preventing osteoporosis, you learned that while diet is somewhat important for preventing osteoporosis, it is nowhere near as important as it is for preventing a heart attack. For purposes of osteoporosis, diet plays a much more minor role. This means it has more limitations. So a woman who thinks she can prevent osteoporosis with her diet alone is going to be shocked to discover that she loses bone like crazy and probably sustains a fracture. She'll end up somewhere she did not intend. For purposes of osteoporosis, diet is completely incapable of intervention and fixin. And it's only adequate for prevention if you don't have other things that cause bone loss. But all women with estrogen deficiency have the #1 cause of bone loss. So diet is not an adequate compensation for estrogen with regard to your bones. Likewise, in the Alzheimer's unit, you learn that diet is very important to your brain function and prevention of Alzheimer's, but not adequate for intervention or fixin. And once again, it's only adequate for prevention if you don't have other things causing Alzheimer's. And all women with estrogen deficiency have the #1 cause of Alzheimer's in females. So diet alone for prevention of Alzheimer's will take you to a dead end, and there you will stay. So if we plot diet on our scale for the 3 diseases, it looks like this. And the parentheses indicates kind of, sort of. Now let's talk a bit about lifestyle. I separate diet, lifestyle, and exercise so that we can be more specific. Lifestyle entails things like refraining from smoking, avoiding alcohol, getting plenty of sleep, and challenging your brain. Generally speaking, most of us have either an overall healthy lifestyle or an overall unhealthy lifestyle. But there are those who are absolute fanatics about one healthy lifestyle measure and completely lax about another. For purposes of our lesson today, the goal is to address lifestyle as an isolated management option to see where it falls in the range of capabilities. So if you did nothing but refraining from smoking, avoiding alcohol, getting plenty of sleep, and challenging your brain, how well could you compensate for estrogen deficiency? Isolating just one option category like this is very interesting. Unlike the case with using nothing but diet to prevent a heart attack, if you were to use nothing but these lifestyle measures to prevent a heart attack, you'd be in big trouble. These lifestyle factors alone are completely inadequate for even prevention of a heart attack. They definitely can't function in the realms of intervention or fixin. So, you'd end up veering off the road and off cliff. For osteoporosis, they're also woefully inadequate. You'd end up fractured before you know it. But for Alzheimer's, they can go a long way in prevention, but they aren't suited for intervention or fixin. So while you might get a little farther on the road, you might not quite make it to your final destination. See what I mean? This is what I love about the scientific method. It involves isolating things so that you can assess each one individually without all the confounding variables that confuse the issue. So here's where lifestyle falls on our scale, with the only real certain benefit of compensation for estrogen deficiency showing for Alzheimer's prevention. Now for exercise. Well, let's just cut to the chase on this. Exercise is absolutely capable of compensating for estrogen deficiency to a degree for all three diseases, but only to a degree. The key to using exercise as a management option is to know the kind of exercise that qualifies for each disease. And they are all different in their exercise requirements. Prevention of a heart attack requires cardiovascular exercise, as I described in videos 172 and 173. And you can prevent a heart attack with exercise almost as well as you can with diet. For osteoporosis, you need weight bearing, resistance, balance, flexibility, and core exercise. I gave you 4 videos on this. For osteoporosis, exercise plays a bigger role than diet. And while it is not comparable to estrogen replacement, it is the next best thing. And it can get you quite far down the road. For Alzheimer's, any exercise that is outdoors or purely physical or requires focus will definitely help prevent Alzheimer's and also get you quite far down the road. But exercise, like diet and lifestyle, falls mostly in the realm of prevention. It is not capable of intervention or fixin. So here's exercise on our scale. Our next category is vitamins, minerals, and supplements. This is the one a lot of women want to use exclusively. They refer to it as the natural way of managing estrogen deficiency. But that really makes no sense. Think about it. If the problem is estrogen deficiency and estrogen is a hormone, how can replacing it with something other than the actual hormone be natural? It's actually the most unnatural means of compensation of all. Just as you wouldn't replace a vitamin C deficiency with estrogen, you can't replace estrogen deficiency with vitamin C. I think this category is the one with the most pitfalls. The advertisers and marketers brainwash you into believing in magic, along with scaring you into believing that your own female hormone is poisonous. And then they claim that products in this entirely unregulated industry can compensate for your absent estrogen. Nothing could be more ludicrous, but it's absolutely astounding how many women fall for it. In video 174 on vitamin, mineral, and supplement options for preventing a heart attack, you learn that there is a list of these items that improve the function of your heart. However, they are all suited only for prevention. In fact, one of the basic principles that I impress upon you over and over again is the fact that the entire vitamin, mineral, and supplement industry is only for maintaining wellness. Nothing in the entire industry is capable of preventing or treating any disease, regardless of the claims on the product. So all vitamins, minerals, and supplements for your heart only keep an already healthy heart healthy. Then in video 217, you learned that there is a host of vitamins, minerals, and supplements that are beneficial for your bone health. But again, you discovered that while they are necessary, they are definitely not sufficient for preventing osteoporosis. They are in no way capable of intervention or fixin. And video 271 reiterated that again with regard to Alzheimer's. No vitamin, mineral, or supplement of any kind can in any way function for prevention, intervention, or fixin of Alzheimer's. So this category is one that requires you to understand that its capabilities are strictly limited to wellness. Do not make the mistake of assuming that you can use any vitamin, mineral, or supplement to compensate for estrogen deficiency or to prevent any of the diseases of estrogen deficiency. So it's really worse than a dead end. This category will lead you astray and have you veering off the road and off the cliff. It will result in the road to disaster. So I'm going to put a double parenthesis around this on our chart. Next is herbs, and herbs are a lot like vitamins, minerals, and supplements. It too is an entirely unregulated industry. Nothing in the herbal category has ever been capable of prevention, intervention, or fixin of any disease. In fact, herbs are not even capable of reliably alleviating symptoms of estrogen deficiency. And the use of herbs is even more unpredictable than that of vitamins, minerals, and supplements. They have lots of side effects about which most people are completely unaware. So please do not delude yourself about the powers of herbs. They will take you like this, causing yet another disaster. So they also get a double parenthesis. And our final category is the non-hormonal medications. Now this is a category that consists of different medications for different diseases. For heart attack, it includes the statin drugs, antihypertensive meds, and aspirin. And unlike any other category, these are all designated for use when you already have evidence of heart disease. So this is the first and only category that falls into the realm of intervention or fixin. And while other categories serve the role of prevention before you have evidence of heart disease, non-hormonal meds serve the role of prevention when you already have heart disease or even fixin. In most cases, this is where the benefit to risk ratio shifts. You see, if you do not have heart disease, it would be more risky than beneficial to take these medications. But once you have heart disease, it becomes more beneficial than risky. That's the big difference in this category compared to all the others. So this represents a U-turn. You can actually reverse the disease process with these options. It's a great big U-turn. For osteoporosis, the non-hormonal medications would include all of the bone-building meds I presented in video 224. They are all specifically designed for intervention or fixin. So they stop bone loss and they replace the bone you have already lost. Once again, that represents a U-turn. Now, they all have side effects, but the risk of a fracture from osteoporosis is much greater than the risks posed by the side effects. And there are non-hormonal meds for Alzheimer's, but as I taught you in video 277, they are as much of a fantasy as Alice in Wonderland. They can't do a thing for prevention, intervention, or fixin of Alzheimer's. This one is either a dead end or a complete derailment. And that's a double parenthesis. Here's how these look on our scale. If we now put all the management options on the scale together, you can see where each option belongs. The big mistake is trying to use something that is in the wrong lane. What I've done for easier reading is highlight the option categories that are significant enough to make a difference in each lane. And what you see is that their ranges of capabilities are very clear. For prevention, diet and exercise are the only categories that are really adequate. For intervention and fixin, non-hormonal medications are the only things that are adequate. Now, compare this to the same scale for estrogen replacement that I showed you at the beginning of this tutorial. And let's put all of them on the scale together. All I've done is highlight the viable options for each lane in the same color for that lane's designation of prevention in green, intervention in yellow, and fixin in red. If you want the chart, it's available in a link in the description box and on my website, which is menopausetailor.me. So what you've learned today is that every option only fits into specific lanes or one lane. And you have to know the capabilities and limitations of each option in order to make wise management choices for your menopause. And if you choose to manage each branch of the menopause tree individually rather than replenishing the trunk with estrogen, you will probably have to do about 20 things to compensate for what estrogen does. If you need my help with this, just schedule a consultation with me at menopausetailor.me. I will make assessing all your options really easy, and I will tailor it all specifically to you, of course. Okie dokie. Next week we will talk only about diet for preventing the 3 big diseases. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and please get all your friends to subscribe. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye!